Over the years of Halo being a franchise, with every game iteration, there's always special secret rooms and areas that the developers obviously don't want players to get access to. But as Halo has been out for many years, players have found different ways to access these otherwise inaccessible rooms. Or even worse, if there's a room that still is mostly inaccessible to this day, it becomes even more fascinating, especially when there's things like mods and things like acrophobia that allow you to fly around and glitch out of maps much easier. So let's take a closer look at some of these mysterious rooms that we're definitely not supposed to be able to access. In Halo Combat Evolved on the level Pillar of Autumn, there is a way that you can glitch out of bounds right away in the very first area, getting up into this attic space. It's really interesting. A lot of speedrunners that use it, but it is funny just to see what it's like to be up in these rafters, I guess, in this no-goes area that you're really not supposed to be in. Also on Halo Combat Evolved on the Pillar of Autumn, if you crouch through the window by these escape pods that have already left, you can actually get into this little room and then drop outside of it. You can even go out into space if you want to. Also, another interesting spot from the original Halo game is over on 2 Betrayals. Originally, there was supposed to be a 4th energy beam that you were supposed to activate, like you do to slow down the ring's activation or something. You had to throw yourself into these light beams, if you remember from Combat Evolved. There's supposed to be a 4th one we were going to go in, but they ended up trimming that out to keep the level briefer than what it was. Though, with some modding, you can no-clip into this room that was never used, and it's kind of interesting to look at. Okay, we weren't really sure if this next one would count, but we decided to throw it in the video anyways. But on the Great Journey, when you're inside this area with the brutes, if you have a means to get up to the top area of this map, you can see that the skybox looks a little bit weird. Now, if you change it to Halo 2 Anniversary graphics, the skybox looks way different, and it kind of is reminiscent to like the Venetian Hotel in Las Vegas with the fake sky. It's just kind of interesting that this is up here. On High Charity, there's actually a couple of places that are really interesting to get a look at, especially now that you can use acrophobia in Halo 2 Anniversary. First thing we did was we went and explored the In Amber Clad, which was interesting to say the least. It looks like a combination of weird shapes, and I don't know what these things are. But if you fly the other way at the beginning of the level, you can actually get far enough out of bounds where if you kind of position your camera while you're in the Anniversary graphics, you can see where the cut Warthog run was. And this is just really cool because essentially this was hidden away in regular High Charity, but when they did the remaster, they retextured everything that was in the games themselves, and this obviously wasn't needed to be retextured, so we can kind of see the outline of where that lost cut Warthog run would have been. Okay, in general with Halo, you're not supposed to make it into all of the cutscene rooms, like the one on Cairo Station, though with some really tricky and complicated glitching, you can nuzzle your way into the cutscene room that we know from Cairo Station. It just looks like another room that would be in Cairo Station. Also, this is one of our oldest videos on Halo content that goes on this channel, but way back in the day, we did a glitch to get out of the elevator section on Regret. And once you get out of bounds, you can go explore the entire underwater area and finally see what's going on in all of those ruins. And a lot of the time, there's really not that much going on. It's more the atmosphere and wonder that you're drawn to when you actually get to go and explore. It's pretty basic, but I mean, it was kind of neat too. On the Halo 2 level Oracle, you can actually get under the floor at the beginning by doing an AUP glitch, and then you can get into that room where the Flood is usually fighting underneath. Also, you can glitch back into the room that you technically enter from the previous level, even though you're not supposed to technically be out there on this version of the level. Okay, we do have more interesting spots we're going to go to in just a second, but since we don't have a sponsor for today's video, we just want to give a quick, huge early shout out to our Patreon pledgers, producers, whatever we want to call them today. Seriously, these guys have been literally the biggest help in getting our channel in a more consistent and stable place when it comes to revenue. I don't know, interest in Halo goes up and down depending on what's going on, and we all know how things have been for Halo. So if you guys want to help support our channel and pledge even just a couple of dollars, it goes a long way. It shows up on Luke's and I's phones when someone does it, and it's kind of cool. We're sitting around $500 monthly dollars in Patreon right now. Our long-term goal is to one day get to the point where we have $2,000 being generated through Patreon every month. That's actually less than 1% of our overall subscriber count if just 1% pledged $1. Obviously, not everyone can pledge money, so if you know you got a couple dollars burning a hole in your pocket, you can pledge for yourself and pay it forward for someone else who maybe can't help support our channel. I don't know, we'll keep making our content for free, but we do really appreciate all of the support our community has helped us out with so far. It lets us cover random little topics like this, and that's kind of cool. Okay, in Halo 3, there's a couple of rooms that still to this day I haven't been able to get in and access, which bothers me more than you can imagine. But on Crow's Nest, when you're going through the barracks, you can just see a glimpse of some sort of courtyard outdoor area over here, and I really wish I just knew what was going on the other side of that window. And then on the Storm, there's this little hallway that goes to nowhere right here at the beginning, and Luke and I one time thought we would for sure be able to find a way to break into that, and we spent hours for a video that never ended up happening where we tried to glitch into this little hallway. We haven't figured that one out yet, so that video never ended up getting made. Now, if we want to get really technical here, we could also look at the Halo 3 multiplayer maps. Now, mind you, we've done extensive coverage of secret areas from the multiplayer maps and whatnot, but just a quick refresher, we'll go through some of the interesting spots from the multiplayer side of things. On Blackout, there's these rooms all the way up here that you can't really walk around in. You can glitch out of the main building on Foundry, and there's this tunnel that's technically outside, but it's definitely a closed off tunnel with kill barriers around it. You can also break in past these fences on Foundry also. Rat's Nest has these really cool rooms way up top overlooking the rest of the map. You can only get in by glitching with teleporters. You can get behind the glass on Snowbound and on Avalanche. On this map, the level that I can't remember the name of at the exact moment of me recording it, but Luke will go ahead and record the name of the map in post-production. Go ahead, Luke, what's the name of the map I'm talking about?
Ghost Town.
There you go, see? Anyways, in the middle of this area, there's this really interesting room behind some fences that kind of just connects together, and it just looks neat. You actually aren't supposed to be able to access it, but once again, using glitches like a machine gun turret glitch or just other forms of teleporting glitching, you can get into the room. Oh, and I know we're supposed to be talking about Halo 3 right now, but also on Terminal, there was this little secret area that you could get up onto in Halo 2. Just thought we'd throw it in there as well. Halo 3 ODST actually has a lot of really interesting spaces that you can use, that you can access if you go out of bounds. For instance, on Teari Plaza, using the Acrophobia skull, you can fly all the way towards the city and find these secret garages, or maybe this would be the entranceway if these were technically train tracks, where you would get into a train or whatnot. But it is really cool that there is a structure all the way out here so far away from the main area that you normally play through when playing the level Teari Plaza. Also, we thought it'd be interesting if we found a way to glitch into the room where Dare's helmet gets launched into the window, but during the daytime version, and it wasn't actually all that hard to get in there and explore around. Not too much going on during the daytime, but it is cool nonetheless to look out at Teari, but during the daytime. And as you may or may not know, when it comes to Halo 3 ODST's layout for Mombasa streets, every single sector has a mirrored section, which is more or less the same layout as the other version, or the mirror, obviously. So Kazingo Boulevard is actually the area that mirrors the same area from Teari Plaza, except during the daytime. And we were also able to glitch into the mirrored building using the bump glitch that we use in a lot of speedrunning tricks. And this is interesting. This door is actually closed here, so you can't explore the rest of the building, but you can still go into this room. There's really no purpose, but it is a cool little endeavor to go through if you break out of the main part of the level and you make your way over here instead. Also, if you go to the Sunken Plaza, where you may have seen the triple superintendent, if you mess around with the loading zones, you can load it in where there's no doors here, and essentially you can freely go into these void hallways that are kind of spooky, though there's really nothing going on here. And similarly, you can spawn bump through these doors, getting access to the firefight rooms that you don't normally go in when you're playing through the campaign. And it's cool just to see that these hallways are there fully, even though we're technically playing through the campaign, not the firefight versions. There's actually another spot similar to this that you can see at night if you go to the area where Kazingo Boulevard typically takes place, where a door will mysteriously beep if you go past it. And a lot of people thought there was some secret with the glyphs here. You could take a mongoose and clip through, but really what it was just a door that would load in enemies for the firefight mode that also happened here. But still, it is a secret room that is here. Also on NMPD HQ, if you glitch out of the map, now this one's a little bit easier because Acrophobia is in the game, but there was other ways to do this before Acrophobia, and you got up to the upper level here, you could make your way inside these little doorways up on top of the level, and there was just these dark rooms. There's nothing going on in these rooms, but they do exist. Okay, then this next one's not one that a lot of people know about, but on Coastal Highway, you technically can go out of bounds doing the same out of bound glitches you would do in a speed run for regular, but this obviously is way easier to look at if you're doing Acrophobia. Go out of bounds, and then you can fly all the way over to where Uplift Reserve takes place and explore the areas over there. Though most of the buildings and the tunnels you typically can go in are not accessible, it is still interesting to fly around. Vice versa, you can go out of bounds on Uplift Reserve similarly and fly all the way to Coastal Highway. You can go up to some of the garages or the gates or whatever you want to call them that you go through on Coastal Highway, but you're technically playing on Uplift Reserve. Also bonus points here, though this one probably doesn't count, but if you go to the area where you normally would crash land at the end of Uplift Reserve with the cutscene, you can just see like a picture of what the area looks like plastered on here if the whole level hasn't loaded, and you can walk around in this vicinity. There's not a lot going on, but it is just a funny way that they scaled this down if you haven't loaded the level in the right order. In Halo Reach, on the level The Package, if you go into the icy underground area that's super cool, there are some little offices that you can look at from the outside, and I've always wanted to just go inside one of these offices and explore. Sure, there's the big Halsey Easter egg that you can go way inside, but I want to see these little like okay level offices as well, and just the fact that there's a window looking off to let me see it. It's kind of sad that we never get to just hang out in one of these other offices. It makes me wonder, are there other scientists down here studying too, or does Halsey just have multiple offices in this small area studying the Forerunner artifact? In Halo Reach, on the level New Alexandria, when you're inside of the hospital building, there is this little room that you can run inside and be safe in, and there's not a lot more to it than that, but we've talked about this room before, and I just like to bring it up every chance that I get. Pillar of Autumn was another really interesting one for me. I noticed that there was this big destruction type area. I don't know, like, what do I even call this room? But I did notice there's this giant room that you cannot get into, and it drives me insane. I thought with Acrophobia we'd be able to go in there. We've tried clipping through with spawn bumping, and unless we go full on modding, no clipping to go in there, it doesn't look like this will be an area we'll be able to explore too much. And then of course, many of you probably know about the Spartan that was used for scaling when they were building the part of the Pillar of Autumn that you do get to see in the level. And with the Acrophobia skull, you now can fly over there and get a glimpse of him. However, you can't get too close to him like you can in theater mode, though it does make us wonder if there are other interesting things that will come out of the other games once Acrophobia is implemented, like Halo 4 for example. And now that we're on Reach and we've talked about multiplayer secret areas before, we'll just bring these little ones up as well. But on Forge World, you can get underneath this little area in the middle island, and it's just kind of this random room that you can shoot through. Switching gears over to Halo 4, there is an interesting area you can access on the first level of the campaign, the level Dawn, and all you have to do is kind of jump up and backwards a little bit on these boxes and make your way up here, and I guess this kind of counts as a room, maybe? Okay, and then when we get to Halo Infinite, things get a little bit weird because we can't really figure out if these are intentionally in existence or if they're hidden away and supposed to be a long-kept secret by 343 Industries. But if you go to various multiplayer maps in Halo Infinite, there are alternate routes and extra expansions that are completely closed off in these multiplayer variants of the maps. Now, Forge, at the time of recording this, isn't out yet, so it's not like we can load up on the map on Forge and see if we're able to access these extra little areas, but it is interesting nonetheless to at least point it out. Matter of fact, if we go through every single level practically in Halo Infinite's multiplayer, if you have no clip mode or something, you can pretty much go through and see these extra areas that are usually inaccessible in the multiplayer maps. Like, you can go through these doorways on Behemoth that look really Forerunner-like, or these extra hallways on Bazaar. There's an added street corner that has some really cool wall art on streets. And then there's more simple ones, just like an extra hallway or rooms on some of the other levels. But nonetheless, we still thought it was kind of somewhat worth noting in this section. So yeah, this was a really interesting topic to look at and kind of see these scenarios and areas we're definitely not intended to be able to access, and then kind of look into some of those more mysterious ones as well. But do you have any interesting rooms that you've noticed when playing Halo that you're like, huh, I don't know if this is supposed to be here or not? Let us know in the comments down below. Make sure you are subscribed with notifications on for more videos like this. We'll see you all next time with a brand new upload.